Hey cuties, what's up? We're back with some more reactions after dark, and we're of course going to be watching The Dark Side of Lost Media, obviously by The Void. So yeah, we're back with some more The Void. Today, I mean, we've been doing a lot of Lost Media stuff, right? So you know what, we might as well do another one. Like I was debating on what to pick, like from The Dark Void, or maybe it was mostly just from Dark Void. I saw this woman pop up on my timeline that I've not seen before, but it seems like she does kind of like the same wheelhouse stuff, just weird mystery stuff, dark stuff, uh, what have you. But I was debating on doing that, but just starting a new thing out of nowhere. I was like, I don't really feel like that because I'm actually doing this early because I've been late, right, the past few days, but I'm actually doing this the same day I did the last rad. I haven't gone to sleep yet. So we're doing two rads uh, today, though obviously this is not going to go up until later. I mean, it already is Tuesday, but it's early in the morning, question mark. Yeah, don't have much to say. I mean, by that I mean we don't have any hater segments. Obviously no uh, radical break today either because the video's too short for that. We could talk about how something weird that's happening on Instagram for a second for me. I don't know how long this is going to last for, but if you didn't know, usually when I reply to things, I just send sunflowers. It's just a thing. I was like, I need to have a thing, so that's going to be my thing. So I send sunflowers, right? That's why I start and end every sentence with my personal sunflower emoji on YouTube if I can do that. Which, again, if you don't know that sunflower, that specific sunflower that I usually reply with, and then the penguin, are my emojis that you get if you become a member. So I'm using my member emojis in those instances. Anyways, other places I just send uh, sunflowers. And if I like a thing on Instagram or something, which is usually art. Like almost like 95% of the stuff on my Instagram that I have followed is arts and stuff like that. So I'll like it and I'll give a number of sunflowers between like 2 and 5 or 6 or something. Usually 2, but if I feel like it, I'll give them a 3 or 4 or 5. It's up to them to what they want to get from getting more or less. Because there's no rhyme or reason for that. Usually, I mean there is, but I'm gonna say there isn't. Anyways, someone recently has been responding to my sunflowers on someone else's post. It's not even their posts. They're responding to them saying, "Why are you sending sunflowers?" But it's like weird, where it's like broken English and kind of funny. I just find it funny, and they're calling me penguin because of my profile pic. And it's just for some reason being called penguin is so funny for some reason. Like I'm a penguin. Like answer me, penguin. Uh, so if anyone wants to start calling me penguin, that's perfectly fine. Even though I know the model that I'm using on here is Belock, which is a rabbit, but my profile icon obviously is a penguin that I made. Right, the 3D model penguin that I made. Um, but yeah, it's just like weird. Like I don't know why they're so obsessed with trying to get an answer out of me of like why I send sunflowers. Like it's literally like penguin, why flowers? Please, penguin, flowers, explain why send. Stuff like that. Like really weird English. And then like today they're like, there you go again, penguin, with that flower stuff that you're doing. And I'm replacing the word they used with the word stuff. A similar word that starts with an S. Something like that. And it's like, why are you so obsessed with me posting on this person's profile? because it's not that person responding. That person usually just responds with like a like back or a thank you, maybe. I don't know if they've said thank you back before, but uh, it's usually just like a like or whatever, right? Maybe they will respond with their own emojis back, which is what a lot of people do. But there's just random strangers just talking to me on someone post that has nothing to do with them, calling me penguin. I just thought that was funny. Anyways, we wasted 5 minutes. We can get into this now. Oh, obviously, we're gonna get the viewer discretion is advised, so viewer discretion is advised. Also, if my voice isn't up to snuff today, I don't know why. I guess just because I've been awake too long. Because I don't really like the way it sounds right now, even though I'm pretty sure it's on your end you can't even tell the difference. Um, it's very flat for me, and I think just because I've been awake too long, and it just over time flattens out as the day goes on, or the things just cause it to do that. Like I can, like the way the sound is going through my throat sounds flat, like it's not scratching against it as it comes out. It's almost like I'm hoarse, which just happens throughout I get just hoarser as the day goes on.
Have you ever wondered about the things we were never meant to see? Pieces of media, once created and released to the world, only to disappear, vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but whispers, rumors, and speculation. What happens to a piece of content when it slips through the cracks of time? Was it simply forgotten, or was it hidden away deliberately? In this series, we're diving deep into the darker side of lost media, the stories that haunt the internet, the mysteries that have evaded even the most determined investigators, and the content so unsettling that it's almost as if someone, somewhere, never wanted us to find it. Welcome to the dark side of lost media.
So, I mean, this one's called The Great Temptation, right? I don't know what any of these are, because I've already read the little chapters here, the Crossbow Cannibal. Maybe I know what that is, but I don't know just from the name. Like, I'd have to see. And then Room 211 as, like, the last story. Oh yeah, I also found this other channel that had, like, the dark side of YouTube videos as well, but I'm actually surprised by how many people have videos specifically called, worded the exact same way, you know, capital letters and all, the dark side of YouTube, as like a series. And I feel like it'll be confusing to keep reacting to multiple people with the exact same title. Because I feel like at that point it would be like, okay, this is this person's version, and this is this person's version. So that was something I was also debating about doing today, but I was like, it's just too confusing, right? To just do a video that's the exact same name of something I did the other day.
It's the 1970s in Australia, an era of big hair, colourful outfits, and TV game shows that glued families to their living rooms. Among them was Great Temptation, a show that quickly became a household favourite. Hosted by the charming Tony Barber, with his quick smile and effortless charisma, and co-hosted by the lively Barbara Rogers, the show was a hit. It was all about high energy, big prizes, and a dash of drama. But what if, behind the bright lights and cheerful applause, there was a secret, a dark and tragic moment never meant to be seen?
Yeah, you cannot see anything, but that was so blurry, jeez.
Great Temptation was a game show that kept Australian audiences hooked. Contestants answered rapid-fire trivia questions, earning cash with every correct answer.
I don't know if you've heard of this game show before or not. I mean, I loved game shows growing up. I haven't really been watching them. I mean, I haven't really watched them in 10, 20 years. I mean, 20 is a bit too long, but like over 10 years, maybe 15 years. I haven't been watching them for like 15 years, but I loved that stuff. I loved the game show network. You know, was it Nickelodeon Gas, or was it just Noggin? What like special Nickelodeon show just had just Nickelodeon game shows constantly playing? You know, Guts, all the different Guts shows, Double Dare, Legends of the Hidden Temple. All the other stuff. I think it had the arcade one too, the really older arcade ones. There was one I loved. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like they had a fake house, and I think you had to go into this fake house and find objects. I don't know if that was like the last thing you did in that show, or if it was just the entire show. but it's usually with kids, right? I think. So like, man, I loved game shows back then. Oh, and even not even like just that channel, but other channels like the shopping one where they go into a grocery store and they're running around with carts trying to get items off a list, I think. Or were they just trying to get the most expensive stuff? I don't, I forget what it was. I love that shopping one too. Yeah, all that stuff. Like again, all the stuff on Home Shopping Network. I literally quote. Um, I don't know what the show's called anymore, but the no whammies. I always say, well, I don't say it all the time, but like I no whammies, no whammies, which is from a game show,
But the
an
real
old
twist
game
came when
show.
the top player had the chance to trade their points for a prize, something valuable they'd get to keep no matter what. It was a risky move, though. Spending those points could mean the difference between winning or losing the game. For a while, everything seemed to be going smoothly. The show was a hit, and fans tuned in each week to watch contestants battle it out. But then, something changed. There was an episode that never aired, a gap in the lineup that fans couldn't ignore, a recording that was locked away and never spoken about on air. The lights were up, the cameras were rolling, and Tony Barber was in his element, cracking jokes, firing off questions, and keeping the energy high. Contestants were battling it out, and for the audience, it was business as usual. But then, something happened. Something that no one in the studio expected. According to Tony Barber, the contestant, Valerie, had just won the game, a moment that should have been full of celebration. Tony had announced,
But don't tell me she had like a heart attack on the stage or something.
"Congratulations, Valerie, you've won." But instead of cheers, there was confusion. Valerie slumped forward, her body going limp. She lay there, motionless. At first, nobody was sure what was happening. The applause died down, and uncertainty settled over the set. The production crew acted quickly, halting the taping and clearing the studio while doctors were called. The lively atmosphere was gone, replaced by a heavy silence. Tony Barber retreated to his dressing room, waiting anxiously for news. When the floor manager finally arrived, Tony asked, "How is she? She seems to have passed out." The response was chilling. "Tony? She's passed on." The reality of the situation hit hard, and what had started as a routine episode had suddenly become a tragic and unforgettable moment. All
That's what I thought. It's like you're really that's like such a horrible way to go. Like you're on a game show trying to win money, you win the game show, and then immediately you just get striked down by like almost like God himself.
captured and recorded. Then, in the middle of the shock, someone said, "I suppose we'll have to do this episode again." A comment that felt cold and out of place. Like the loss didn't really matter. The episode was never aired. The footage was tucked
Well,
away,
duh.
out of sight, leaving those who were there to piece together what had happened and grapple
Again, I'm assuming she just had a heart attack or something like that from how excited she got from winning or something.
with an incident that would forever remain part of TV's hidden history. After Valerie's sudden collapse, taping stopped immediately. The episode was never finished and never aired. No one knows what really happened to her or how much she had won that day. It was like all the details just disappeared, and no one seemed eager to dig deeper. There's not much to go on about that lost episode. No clear record of when it was taped, and considering it happened in the early 70s, a time when tapes were often reused, it's unlikely the footage still exists. Chances are it's been erased, leaving behind only questions. What's even stranger is how little information there is about Valerie. There's almost nothing. No mention of a last name. No detailed reports. It's as if her story was quietly brushed aside, never meant to be remembered. It makes the comment of someone mentioning having to record the episode again feel so unsettling. It's like her death was just another inconvenience, something to move past. The show went on with new contestants, more winners, and countless episodes.
I was wondering if it kept going after that because it's not like they were, killed or anything like that on this set. They just possibly died of natural causes. Like again, immediately before he even said like she died, I was like, don't tell me she had like a heart attack from winning or something. I feel like that's possibly what happened. She just had a heart attack at the fact of winning the game show. Was just too excited and literally died of too much joy? Question mark. Which again, like that's so unfortunate to go on this game show, try to win this money, actually succeed in winning the money, but in doing so, you die because you won the money, like, and you're just so excited about winning the money that causes you to die. Question mark. It's very monkey's paw. I feel like you got your wish, but at what cost?
Episodes. But for those who knew, there was always that one episode, a strange gap that nobody wanted to talk about.
Is that the end? Oh, that's the end of the first one. The Great Temptation, yeah. And now we have the cannibal one. So I feel like I'm
It was the
talking
early
too
hours of
much
Friday, May
this time around. Even since I just want this to be a short one so I can have a break later today, but it doesn't really matter. I can talk as much as I want. I should be trying to aim for like a bajillion hours on these videos anyways.
21st, 2010, in Bradford, West Yorkshire, England. The city was still, its streets deserted, while the world slept. But inside a rundown block of flats, something was happening. Something that would never be forgotten. A CCTV camera blinked in the dimly lit corridor, silently recording everything in its view. The footage, however, would remain hidden from the public, locked away, never to be seen. The man captured on the CCTV camera was Stephen Griffiths, and with him a woman named Suzanne Blaemyers. To understand what exactly that camera recorded, we need to go back to Stephen's story, and how it all led to this moment. Stephen Griffiths was born in 1969 in West Yorkshire, an unremarkable boy growing up in a quiet suburb. His early life was largely uneventful. By all outward appearances, he was simply another child in a working-class family. But those who knew him well often described something a little off about him.
What, already from the beginning they just know he's a psychopath?
A certain distance in his manner that set him apart. He wasn't the type to blend in. As he entered adolescence, that strange distance grew wider. He became fascinated by stories of violence, and those whose names had been etched into the darker side of history. At 17, this fascination turned into action. He was arrested for attacking a supermarket manager with a knife, an impulsive act of violence that caught everyone by surprise. The boy they thought was just a little odd was suddenly a danger. This incident landed him in a young offenders institution. Authorities hoped confinement would steer him back on course, but Stephen wasn't like the other troubled youths. Rehabilitation didn't reach him. After his release, Stephen returned to a quieter life, pursuing a degree in criminal justice at the University of...
Just out of nowhere, just went into... Did he go to juvie? Because I was like slightly not following. He went to juvie, maybe. He got in trouble for trying to stab somebody or hurt somebody. Apparently didn't stick, but then he comes back and goes to college for law? Question mark. Maybe that's just to learn the law so that he can know what he can and can't get away with. And this is called the crossbow cannibal, so I'm assuming that he's going to consume someone, and that camera that we are not allowed to see saw the footage of him, in fact, consuming somebody. And a crossbow just happened to be part of that. Maybe he used the crossbow to... I'm trying to think of the word I want to use. Immobilize someone and or eliminate them, and then proceeded to consume them.
Of Bradford. But those close to him noticed a change. He was growing more isolated, more absorbed in the grim subjects that seemed to
Didn't they already say he was very isolated to begin with?
consume him. It was a subtle shift, but it was there, lurking just beneath the surface. Then, in the summer of 2009, something happened. Susan Rushworth, a 43-year-old mother of 3, disappeared. She had spent years struggling with addiction following a brain hemorrhage that caused epilepsy. Though her life had been difficult, Susan was starting to change things. In the days before her disappearance, she was cutting down on her substance abuse and living with her mother, Christine. On June 22nd, she told Christine she was going out to buy medicine. That was the last time anyone would see her alive. The last known image of Susan came from CCTV footage, showing her
Okay, so she was getting her life back together and then just snuffed out
Getting
for
off
no
a bus.
reason.
From there, the details of what happened remain a mystery. At some point, Susan ended up in the flat of Stephen Griffiths. It was there that he took her life with a crossbow. He tore apart at her body in his bathtub, even going so far as to consume pieces of it. There are no remains, no physical evidence that tells the full story, just a few traces of her blood left behind in Griffith's apartment. That was all that was found of Susan Rushworth. Nearly a year passed, and then, on April 26, 2010, another woman went missing. Shelley Armitage, a 31-year-old former student with dreams of becoming a model. Like Susan, Shelley had also fallen into addiction and adult work. Concern grew quickly when she missed a court session and wasn't using her phone. Shelley, too, ended up in Griffith's flat.
Yeah, like how are we saying he's getting them in there? Because like there's no way he's easily just picking them all up. I assume, because he keep mentioning addiction, that he is promising them some sort of narcotic, and then that gets them lured in, and then that's how he gets them.
Like before, he used his crossbow to take her life. But this time, Griffiths decided to capture every detail. He set up his mobile phone and began recording everything. As he dissected her
2009?
body, he narrated the entire process, describing his actions in disturbing detail. It's reported that he consumed some of her body too. Parts of her remains would later be found in the River Aire in Shipley, near Bradford. After the attack, Griffiths lost his phone on a train. For weeks, it changed hands, passed between people who unknowingly held evidence of these crimes. Eventually, the phone ended up with the police, but not before some of its contents had been viewed by others. Those who saw the footage described it as something they'd never forget. Just a few months later, on May 21st, 2010, another woman disappeared. Suzanne Blameyers, a 36-year-old woman who had also endured her own struggles. A violent assault the
What struggles?
previous year had left her scarred, and like the others, she fought to survive in a world that seemed determined to pull her down. Stephen Griffiths used a familiar tactic to lure Suzanne to his flat. He played the part of a photographer, offering money for simple portraits, something he'd done before.
That's all he's doing? It's not the drugs, it's, hey, I'm a photographer, and I'll take pictures of you, and give you money for it? Question mark? That's all it took?
Once inside, the atmosphere shifted. Suzanne must have sensed it. Mere minutes after entering his apartment, she fled, running down the narrow hallway of his building, with Griffiths chasing her. What happened next was captured on CCTV.
Okay, so this is what it saw. I can't tell if he has the crossbow in his hand right now. I was like chasing her with the crossbow.
Suzanne didn't get far before Griffiths caught up to her. In a sudden, violent moment, he fired a crossbow bolt into her head. With little effort, he began dragging her back toward his flat. It wasn't until then that he noticed the camera overhead, silently recording every move. He paused, stared directly at the lens, and raised his middle finger. Inside his flat, he followed the same grim pattern he'd established with his previous victims, disposing of her body in the River Aire shortly after. Some of her remains surfaced days later, but the details of what happened in that apartment stayed locked behind its walls. Just an hour later, Griffiths was out again, searching. He crossed paths with Rosalind Edmondson, a 28-year-old who was on her way to pick up methadone. They spoke.
Don't tell me he literally was able to get another woman right after this one.
Briefly, and she agreed to walk back to his flat with him. Another CCTV camera caught them outside the building's entrance. But something made Rosalind hesitate. She pulled away, choosing to leave instead, unaware of just how close she had come to joining the others. Griffiths watched her leave and didn't try to stop her. 3 days after Suzanne Blameyers' death, May 24th, 2010, Peter G., the caretaker of the complex, sat down to review the CCTV footage. What he saw would haunt him for the rest of his life.
Okay, how long was this afterwards?
3 days after Suzanne Blameyers' death on May 24th,
3 days.
2000,
I think he said 3 days.
And didn't try to stop her. 3 days after Suzanne
3 days later.
On May 24th, 2010, Peter G., the caretaker of the complex, sat down to review the CCTV footage. What he saw would haunt him for the rest of his life. Though he never shared the exact details, he was clear about one thing. The contents were beyond anything he could have imagined. Shaken and horrified, he contacted the police immediately. Stephen Griffiths was arrested shortly after, offering no resistance. In his first court appearance, he gave a name for himself: the Crossbow Cannibal. His confession was blunt and unapologetic, and in December of that same year, he stood in Leeds Crown Court.
Really letting this guy name himself? Question mark? I'm not saying that his name's cool or anything, but aren't you not supposed to do that? Like, you're supposed to, if they are bad guys. How many people did he kill? Is he a serial killer? It's like 3, right? So he's a serial killer, I think. If the media is going to name somebody something, they have to like make it sound as stupid as possible, so that nobody like romanticizes being like doing what they're doing, or just romanticize them in general. So I'm assuming if they actually called him that, or if they gave him some other name. Again, I'm not saying that the name's cool. It's just he chose it for himself, and it's like he should not be allowed the ability to name himself, is what I'm saying.
There was no trial. Griffiths pleaded guilty, and Mr. Justice Openshaw sentenced him to life imprisonment with a whole life order. No possibility of parole.
A whole life. I'm guessing that wording means it's not a year sentence. Like, life could be like 60 years, 100 years, right? That's life in prison. But this life means you are going to die there. It doesn't matter how long it takes, you will die there. There is no numerical number assigned to it. It is your rest of your life.
Griffiths would never leave prison. Parts of the CCTV footage were eventually shown on news broadcasts, but only fragments. The segments that aired revealed a glimpse of the horror. Griffiths flipping off the camera, trying to lure another potential victim inside. Yet, the most graphic moments, the crossbow shot, the dragging of Suzanne's body, were kept from the public. The tapes, while recovered, remain locked away, their contents too disturbing to fully share. The other recordings Griffiths made, including photos of his victims and videos inside his flat, were never shown. The phone he used to document his crimes is sealed away, and it's unlikely those images will ever be seen. The full story remains out of reach, sealed away in evidence files. It's a chapter that may never be fully opened, but perhaps that's where it belongs, away from public view, left to fade like so many other dark corners of disturbing lost media.
Yeah, I'm assuming all of this lost media is just that, like, not anything that's actually been found, because a lot of this lost media stuff just ends up being found because that's what everyone is doing. They're trying to find this stuff. I'm guessing that's not the case for any of these. Like, you didn't find this, right? I mean, we're probably never going to find that from the 70s. They're never going to allow you to see this, and then who knows what the next thing is.
April 16th, 2007 began like any other day at Virginia Tech. Students were making their way across the campus, heading to early morning classes. Some were grabbing breakfast, while others were catching up with friends before starting their day. The sky was clear and the air was calm. It was just
Okay, well, what is this? Is this something I know about? Let's talk about a university, and it has to do with lost media. I almost feel like this is going to be a shooting or something. Like the shooting.
Among the thousands of students going about their day was Seung-Hui Cho. To most people,
Yeah, I was assuming it was the shooting that happened at that college.
another quiet face on campus, someone you'd pass without a second thought. But behind that silence was a young man who had always struggled to fit in. Cho was born in South Korea and moved to the US with his family when he was just a child. They settled in Centerville, Virginia, where his parents worked hard, running a small dry cleaning business, hoping to build a better life. But while his family found a community, Cho didn't. He was quiet, withdrawn, and from an early age, something seemed off. Cho rarely spoke. He preferred to fade into the background, unnoticed by those around him. In school, he was bullied for his silence, for his strange mannerisms, and for his refusal to engage.
Well, we keep saying people who are quiet are bad people. I mean, not really saying that, but we've already had multiple times something goes wrong about this person because they're quiet and distance themselves. It's like, hey, I'm quiet. I want to be quiet. I just want to sit here and not say anything. I want to be left alone. I'm not crazy. Question mark. Citation needed.
Even when his parents sought help, through therapy, medication, and their church, nothing seemed to reach him. The isolation only deepened. By the time he got to Virginia Tech, Cho had become a ghost. He barely spoke to his roommates, kept to himself, and spent most of his time alone. Those who knew him described strange, unsettling behavior, like the time he sat silently at a party, repeatedly stabbing the carpet with a knife. Or the way he talked about an imaginary girlfriend named Jelly, a bizarre fantasy he sometimes mentioned in passing. Most people didn't pay attention to these moments. To them, Cho was just a quiet, troubled student. A little strange, maybe, but nothing more. They couldn't see what was festering beneath the surface. The isolation, the resentment, and the growing darkness inside him. And so, Cho purchased a Glock 19 pistol, as well as a Walter P22 pistol. You see, Cho had previously been diagnosed with selective mutism and severe depression. He had even received therapy.
What is that?
And special education support during his middle school and high school years. But due to federal privacy laws, the university wasn't aware of his previous diagnoses.
I need to look that up. It's kind of literally, I just looked it up, it's literally what it means, selective mutism. Mutism as in being mute. It says it's usually for children, but it's a person who can speak in comfortable situations, but when put into not uncomfortable situations, they're unable to speak due to anxiety. So that's kind of what that meant there. I've never heard that before, but I know what that is. I can imagine what that is. I understand. I don't want to talk to strangers.
However, after an internal investigation following an accusation of him stalking 2 female students, a Virginia special justice declared Cho as mentally ill, ordering him to attend special treatment. Because he wasn't institutionalized, however, he was allowed to purchase the weapons. Around 7:15 a.m., Seung-Hui Cho entered West Ambler Johnston Hall, a co-ed residence building. It wasn't unusual for Cho to be there. His student mailbox was located in the lobby. But on this particular morning, Cho had something far darker on his mind. He made his way to the room of Emily Hilscher, a freshman, and without warning, shot her. A resident assistant, Ryan Clark, rushed in to help after hearing the gunfire. But before he could do anything, Cho shot him too. Cho then calmly left the building and returned to his own dorm to change out of his blood-stained clothes. At 9:40 a.m., nearly 2 hours after the first incident, Cho made his way into Norris Hall, an academic building across campus. In his backpack, he carried chains, locks, 2 handguns, and hundreds of rounds of ammunition.
Chains and locks? I'm guessing he's going to go in, lock the door behind him, and then just do whatever he wanted to do. Yeah, I think this is like one of the infamous ones. As soon as I heard the name, I was like, "Is this that?" Because we're talking about a college. I just need to see this guy's face, and I'm not 100% sure. Like that's who it was, but yeah, I think we all know about this one because it is one of the more the infamous attacks that happened.
Once inside, he used the chains to lock the main entrance doors. He even left a note on one of the doors, warning that anyone who tried to open it would trigger an explosive. Classes were in session. Students and professors had no idea what was about to happen. Cho started on the second floor. He entered room 206, where Professor G.V. Luganathan was teaching. Without warning, Cho opened fire, taking the lives of the professor and several other students in the room. The gunfire echoed through the halls, but it was only the beginning. Cho moved from room to room, attacking anyone in his path. In room 207, he took the lives of Professor Jamie Bishop and other students who had been attending an introductory German class. In another classroom, students and a professor managed to barricade the door with desks and tables, holding off the attack for a few precious minutes. Some students tried to flee. Others jumped out of windows, desperate to escape. But for those still inside, there was no way out. And in room 211, as the sounds of gunshots drew closer, one student, Colin Goddard, reached for his phone. What followed would become one of the most chilling pieces of lost media. The 911.
Oh, did he record what happened, or is it just him? Like he's about to say the 911 call. Is it just a 911 call that we're talking about as lost media?
One call from inside the classroom. Goddard tried to stay calm as he informed the dispatcher that there was a shooter in the building. In the background, the sounds of students moving frantically could be heard. Those inside were attempting to barricade the door with whatever they could find. The room had no lock. Professor Jocelyn Couture-Nowak and Henry Lee were leading the effort, but they had little time. Moments later, gunshots rang out. Cho had started shooting through the door. Goddard, still on the line, took cover under his desk. He saw the figure of Cho as he entered the room, but soon fell silent as the gunman began firing at students. The dispatcher asked if Goddard was okay, but there was no response. The gunfire continued as Cho aimed for Professor Couture-Nowak and Henry Lee before turning his attention to the rest of the room. Another student, Matthew Laporte, made a desperate attempt to tackle Cho but was gunned down in the process. The 911 call captured the chaos, the shots, the screams, and the desperate attempts to survive. Cho moved through the room, shooting those who were already injured, making sure none could escape. Goddard was hit during the attack, a bullet shattering his leg. He managed to whisper to the dispatcher that he'd been shot before his phone slipped from his hand, skidding across the floor and landing near Emily Haas. The dispatcher tried to communicate with the students, but the line remained mostly silent. Haas picked up the phone and quietly informed the dispatcher that the shooter had left the room. There was a brief sense of relief, but Cho wasn't finished. He soon returned for a second round, firing at those who remained conscious. Haas kept her voice low, fearing that the gunman might come back for her, but the sound of more gunfire soon drowned out her words. The 911 call continued to record as the minutes stretched on. The dispatcher asked for the police's location, urging them to hurry as the shooting carried on. It wasn't until nearly 8 minutes into the call that the police finally arrived. They blasted.
Was she still away? Still away? Was she still okay though, or what about him? Because he got shot in the leg, but he wasn't. He didn't finish him off. But with the second volley, like, did he get him too? Because I don't know much about it. What happened exactly? Like, this amount of detail in this specific tragedy. Like, I actually got kind of like enraptured there, just listening to what was happening. Like, oh my god, like deer in the headlights there for a second. Like listening to him talk about what was happening in this classroom. And I was like, wait, oh my god, I'm like not saying anything about this because I'm like so, again, just deer in the headlights at what he did.
Blasted through the
like enraptured was like kind of like the wrong word, but you understand what I mean. I'm not saying anything good about it. It's just like I was just such an oh my god moment that I was just didn't have anything. I was speechless. Like I should have said.
chains Cho had placed on the doors of Norris Hall using a shotgun. But before they could enter room 211, Cho returned again for a third time. More shots were heard over the line, followed by a sudden, deafening silence. The dispatcher, unaware of what had just happened, had unknowingly heard the final gunshot. Cho had turned his gun on himself and shot one final time.
Oh yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah, he did do that, right?
A minute passed. All that could be heard was the sound of laboured breathing, though it was unclear whether it was Haas or someone else in the room. The dispatcher informed her that the police were on the second floor and instructed her to open the door for them. Another student, Clay Viland, who had not been shot, stepped forward to move the bodies and desks blocking the entrance so the police could finally enter.
Okay, so somehow he miraculously did not get shot during any of this. That's good for him, right?
It had been almost 10 minutes since the 911 call was placed. A male voice shouted, "Shoot her down." The line disconnected once the dispatcher confirmed that the police had secured the room. In just 2 attacks, Seung Hui Cho took 32 lives, 27 students and 5 faculty members, before turning the gun on himself. Among the victims, 28 were shot in the head. 17 more people were wounded by gunfire, and 6 others were injured after jumping out of second-story windows to escape. Cho.
Well, at least the people who jumped out didn't die from their attempts to get away. They just hurt themselves.
Fired 174 rounds between his 2 handguns, and the ammunition he chose, 9mm hollow point bullets.
Like, he was trying to, like, do this, right? He used hollow points on top of it, not just regular bullets, hollow points, which I think are, like, meant to, like, they're like anti-personnel rounds. Like, they're not for armor piercing, right? They're meant for flesh, I think. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, I mean, they're specifically for, like, soft targets. That's why I was, like, saying it's for flesh and whatnot, for stopping anything that isn't armored. I mean, I don't know what they would do against armor. I'm assuming they don't work that well against armored people, but still. Yeah, like I was saying, he came prepared to do this for whatever reason. I don't know if there was ever a motive given for this. I don't know. Also, I don't know if you have been hearing anything upstairs, because there's just so much racket upstairs right now. I guess from maybe people moving in or something. We had been lucky and nobody had been up above us this whole time, but I think there's someone moving up there now, so we just had it. And these walls and floors are made out of tissue paper, so I mean, they could even possibly hear me talking right now. I don't know. I don't talk very loud, obviously, so possibly not. But anyways, like I was saying, like he came prepared for this because he had so much ammo and hollow points on top of it. And they mentioned a shotgun at one point. I don't know if that was the police or they said he had a shotgun. So like, said he got 2 pistols. I don't think he had a shotgun. That probably was the police. Yeah, 2 pistols, so much ammo, hollow points, like. Jesus.
Was designed to cause maximum damage. The trauma director at the hospital
Yes.
later confirmed that the type of bullets used made the injuries far more severe.
Yes, that's what I was talking about when you said hollow points. Like, they're meant to kill kill soft targets.
The 911 call from room 211 captured every death that occurred inside. It was never released to the public. When parts of the call were covered during a news broadcast in June 2007, none of the actual audio was played. The recording was deemed far too graphic for public release, and those involved in the attack have remained reluctant to discuss it. Colin Goddard, the student who made the call, has refused to listen to it since.
Okay, thank God he's alive still.
Emily Haas, who took over the call after Goddard was shot, won't talk about the details.
Thank God she's alive still.
One of the responding officers later described the 911 recording as one of the most gruesome things she had ever heard. In late 2022, a Redditor submitted a Freedom of Information Act request on the recording to the Virginia State Police.
Yeah, we kind of just realized what that is recently, I think, right? Where was that used? Someone used that somewhere. Was it just Stephanie? Or someone else? Yeah, what video was it they were talking about? These, like, the act where you can just force the government to tell you things. Right, like that? I don't know what video it was, but I hadn't really heard that until recently, so luckily I did, so now I know what we're talking about, but did they actually get access to it? Like, why would you want it?
One of the responding officers later described the 911 recording as one of the most gruesome things she had ever heard. In late 2022, a Redditor submitted a Freedom of Information Act request on the recording to the Virginia State Police. This request, however, was denied, but there was no mention of the recording no longer existing. It's possible that this piece of lost media will never be released. And perhaps it should never be.
Of course, yeah, they probably deleted it, right? It sounds like they deleted it. That's going to be it for that, though. There's only like a few seconds left, which is going to be a black screen, right? I was not expecting to hear about this story at the end, but I think everyone's heard this story, but I don't think I've heard it spoken about in such detail before. And this guy, don't know how he kept getting away with that. And that game show one as well, yeah. So yeah, that was that video. I can add like a little bit of anecdote here at the end, which I've talked about this before, because this goes into the quiet guy, or like quiet, weird, whatever guy, even though I had friends and a girlfriend in college, not college, in high school, despite that, like literally having a girlfriend at the school and friends, There's this group of girls who would call me Columbine because that had already happened at that point, right? And they would like say that as I would pass by, uh, just being like, I guess that's just the vibes I gave off. I don't know how. Again, just being the weird quiet guy, or I don't know what it was. I feel like calling myself the weird quiet guy isn't accurate because again, friends, girlfriend. I brought a skateboard to school. I would skate at school. So it's like, how was I like the Columbine guy? But like literally, they would call me that. Until one day, I actually got mad and like kind of like cussed them out, and then they never did it again. So that's kind of like one of those things that you know, stand up for yourself. But uh, it probably just made them think, oh my god, he actually is. We better stop before he comes and gets us, right? But yeah, that's not really cool. That's especially not cool back then when that stuff was like still fresh and continued to happen. I think this might have even happened uh, before that as well. I don't know. But it just feeds into that thing I was talking about, like quiet guys. Again, just because I was quiet doesn't mean, or quiet or chill or whatever the heck it attribute it is that would make you think someone's like that. Does it mean I am or that person is like that? Question mark. Yeah, I've already talked about that story before though. Uh, Also, I think my girlfriend was even there too at the time, though. That I probably should have never been with her to begin with. But again, still had a girlfriend, and like she was like nearby when I actually got upset and started cussing them out. I don't remember what she did afterwards. I think I probably just told her just leave it alone. Uh, but yeah. Anyways, that was that video for today. Tomorrow's the 23rd, so that means we have to do the live stream for the uh, divorce reality show Chinaverse video because it's three of them, right? So we're starting that on the 23rd, then doing it again on the 24th for the second video, and then the final video for Christmas, I believe, is what I had planned. Of course, getting a rad video out every day for 25 days has been quite tiring, question mark. Also, let me just throw the throne up while I'm talking. Put that on the screen. It has been quite tiring. Uh, I'd say, I don't know if I'm going to go on like a big break for rad stuff after this or no, or if it's just going to be back to every other day. Because I do need a little bit of mental relief because dealing with stuff in real life is like actually driving me crazy. So on top of that, and then doing rad stuff every day instead of having like a break every other day like I usually do is probably adding to that stress too. I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and complain about YouTube uh, for any longer than that. Again, if you want to help out getting a new PC for the channel, because again I've been using the same PC for 11 years. It was a piece of junk 11 years ago, and it only further becomes more exponential as years go on. And again, it's 11 years later now. I'm still using the same piece of junk. Uh, so yeah, need a new computer. I don't expect to get that anytime soon. I keep saying probably not for like another year or so, maybe even 2, 3. You can argue that I'll never be able to get that. Uh, Question mark, but we'll see. Anyways, we are going to end now. So yeah, Kyuuties, I remembered. Thanks for watching. Remember to buy my stickers. Think about becoming a member. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. So working watch time and subscribers. And don't forget we have a throne now as well. And shout out to the members, EmmyStarr, RaleyDrew, and alexgkiller 880. Also, if you're still watching this, please leave more comments because I kind of look forward to comments on these rad videos every day. So when there isn't any, it's kind of like kind of sad. So again, leave as many comments as you want, 1,000. I probably should have said this at the beginning, but it's too late for that. But again, if you're still watching this and you haven't left a comment or you haven't been leaving comments because you don't think I want to see them or whatever reason, again, I need as many comments as possible. So again, leave 1,000 if you want to. Yeah, keys. Thanks for watching. Tune to the next episode. Like, subscribe, comment. Know the do. See ya.